Hi everybody, I'm Brian and welcome to Music Corner. July 5th, 2014 will mark the 60th anniversary of the recording of Elvis Presley's That's Alright Mama, a song that many consider to be the very first rock and roll song. In this episode, we're not just going to take a look at that one song, we're going to take a look at every song Elvis recorded for Sun. And I'm going to allow you to hear some of the original versions of these songs and talk about their impact. So here we go. Harbour Lights was originally written by songwriter Jimmy Kennedy, who was one of the most successful British songwriters ever, with more hits in the USA than anyone until Lennon and McCartney. It was originally recorded in 1937 by Claude Thornhill. Bing Crosby recorded his version of the song in 1950. There are many versions of the song, but it is likely that it is the Crosby version that Elvis had in mind. Elvis recorded Harbour Lights in his first session at Sun Studios on July 5th, 1954. Elvis loved ballads and crooners like Bing and Dean Martin. He went through his entire repertoire for a very patient Sam Phillips before hitting on That's Alright Mama. I Love You Because was written and first recorded by blind Texas hillbilly singer Leon Payne, who had a hit with it on Capitol in 1949. A pop version was recorded by another of Elvis's favorite singers, the father of actress Carrie Fisher of Princess Leia fame, Eddie Fisher. Elvis recorded his version on the same night as Harbour Lights, and of course, That's Alright Mama. The song wasn't released by Sun, but 2 years later was included on Elvis's self-titled debut album on RCA. That's Alright Mama. The song that started it all began life as an obscure blues song by Arthur Big Boy Crudup. Elvis would later say of Crudup, "I used to hear old Arthur Crudup bang his box the way I do now. And I said, if I ever got to the place where I could feel what old Arthur felt, I'd be a music man like nobody ever saw."
Elvis recorded his groundbreaking version on July 5th, 1954. As I covered in my Tribute to Sun Records video, things weren't going too well at Elvis's audition for Sam Phillips when, during a break, Elvis began messing around with a sped-up version of Crudup's That's Alright Mama. Guitarist Scotty Moore and bass player Bill Black joined in, Sam was stunned, and the rest, as they say, is history.
When learning rockabilly guitar, you immediately go for the biggest influences on the style. So, Eddie Cochran, Cliff Gallup, and of course Scotty Moore. The Scotty Moore style is what's known as Travis picking. Travis picking is making your guitar sound like it's two guitars. And you do that by using your thumb and these three fingers. And I'm going to show you a little bit. I'm not exactly Chet Atkins, but you start off with sort of a beat like this. And that fills in all the holes in an otherwise small band, Blue Moon of Kentucky. In 1946, Bill Monroe with Flat and Scruggs recorded the original version of Blue Moon of Kentucky for Columbia in 3/4 time, a waltz tempo. Elvis was worried that Bill Monroe would be offended by his tampering with the song, but Monroe soon recorded his own version, Elvis's 4/4 rhythm.
Elvis recorded his own version on July 7th, 1954. This time around, Bill Black was the one who came up with the song. While taking a little break, Bill started slapping on his bass and singing Blue Moon of Kentucky in a high falsetto, mocking Bill Monroe. Elvis joined in, and soon they had turned a slow country waltz into a fast-paced rockabilly record.
Richard Rodgers and Lorenz Hart first wrote the music with different lyrics for the 1934 Jean Harlow movie, Hollywood Party. The song was not used in the film. After the melody was used in the film Manhattan Melodrama, Hart wrote the now familiar Blue Moon lyrics, and it was recorded by Glenn Gray and Casa Loma with Kenny Sargent for Decca. Pop singer Billy Eckstine recorded his version of Blue Moon in 1949. Elvis recorded his version for Sun on August 19, 1954. But, like I Love You Because, it wasn't released until Elvis's first album on RCA in 1956. Tomorrow Night. The first version of Tomorrow Night was recorded by Henry Russell and his orchestra on August 8, 1939. The song was written by Wilhelm Gross, who wrote Harbor Lights with Jenny Kennedy. Elvis was obviously more familiar with the Lonnie Johnson blues version of 1947 when he recorded his version in September of '54. Tomorrow Night was a song that Elvis had been singing to his girlfriend Dixie Loke on their dates, and she confirmed that it was the Lonnie Johnson version that Elvis had in mind. I'll Never Let You Go, Little Darling. Jimmy Wakely got his break into show business in 1940 when his trio played Gene Autry's radio show. He recorded the original version of I'll Never Let You Go, Little Darling, which he wrote himself, on July 1st, 1941.
Elvis recorded his version on September 10th, 1954. But like a couple of songs already mentioned, it wasn't released until Elvis's first album for RCA in 1956.
Another key component to the early Elvis sound, as well as rockabilly in general, is the upright slap bass. Elvis Presley had the good fortune to have Bill Black on his side. Bill Black started out as the bass player for Doug Poindexter and the Starlight Wranglers, along with Scotty Moore on guitar. What Bill would do is he would untune the top E string and let it slap against the wood, thus creating a percussive sound. The first version of Just Because was recorded by Nell Stone's Hawaiians on November 30th, 1929. The version Elvis probably heard is more likely to have been the recording by the Shelton Brothers, which was a big hit on the Decca label in 1935.
Elvis's version was recorded in the same session as I'll Never Let You Go, Little Darling, and is drastically different from the original. For some reason, Sam Phillips sat on these two songs, and they too waited for release until Elvis's move to RCA.
The first version of Good Rockin' Tonight was by Roy Brown, who first offered the song to blues singer Wynone Harris, who turned it down. Brown recorded the song himself, and it reached the top 20 on the R&B charts. So, Wynone Harris then recorded it, and he scored a number 1 R&B hit in 1948. Elvis recorded his version in September of '54, and this time it was released by Sam as an A-side with our next song on the flip. I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine was originally written for Walt Disney's 1950 release Cinderella, but was cut out. Dean Martin sang the song in 1953's Scared Stiff, and as a Dean Martin fan, this is likely the version Elvis had in mind. The song was nearly not released by Sam, who, at the last minute, changed his mind as to what the B-side of Good Rockin' Tonight should have been. Another choice being I'll Never Let You Go, Little Darling. Milk Cow Blues Boogie. The original version of Milk Cow Blues Boogie dates back to 1934 when it was recorded by Kokomo Arnold. Other versions by Moon Mulligan, Bob Wills, and Johnny Lee Wills followed. Anyone who thinks that Elvis stole his sound to get famous has clearly not heard songs like this. Elvis's own version of Milk Cow, recorded in December of '54, sounds almost nothing like the Kokomo Arnold original, and instead helped define the rockabilly sound. You're a Heartbreaker, recorded in December of '54, was written for Elvis by Jack Sally, a theater manager Sam Phillips met when he came into Sun Studios to record promos for his Friday Night Hillbilly Jamboree. Sam asked Jack if he had any material for his new artist, and so Jack went home and wrote this song, making it the first song that Sam Phillips owned the publishing on for Elvis. You're a heartbreaker. I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone was written by Stan Kessler, the steel guitarist for Sun Records artist Clyde Leppard, and based on the melody of a Campbell's Soup ad. Elvis recorded two versions of the song, the fast one that you're hearing now, and a slow blues treatment based more on the honky-tonk bass line used in Blues Stay Away From Me by the Delmore Brothers. Baby Let's Play House was originally recorded by Arthur Gunter in 1954 for Excello Records, and it became a local hit. It became nationally known the next year when Elvis recorded it for Sun in February of '55. Elvis changed the original lyrics from "You May Get Religion" to "You May Drive a Pink Cadillac." Elvis already had religion in him. The pink Cadillac was on its way.
Cadillac presents Motordom's masterpiece. No other mark of identification speaks so clearly of the product that bears it as does the famous Cadillac V and Crest. Imagine how proud they will be when they arrive and find themselves the subject of admiring glances on every hand. Inside, you see luxury and graciousness, and on the road, its incredibly smooth, hydromatic drive, and its advanced power steering.
I Forgot to Remember to Forget was written by Sun Records artists Stan Kessler and Charlie Feathers. Elvis wasn't a big fan of the song at first until Sam Phillips brought in a teenage session drummer named Johnny Bernero. This was one of the first Elvis Sun tracks to use a drummer. Sam had the drummer play in 4/4, place a rim shot on the offbeat, and then play in 2/4 for the chorus. This made the song sound faster than it was. Elvis approved, and he even got his first national hit out of it when the song was released as sheet music. Johnny was later asked to join the group, but he declined. The last key element in making a good rockabilly record is the slapback echo. Sam Phillips discovered this by accident. He ran the master of a song through a second tape machine, and it created slapback, or echo, thus filling out the sound. And later on, Scotty Moore would acquire an amp called the Ray Butts Echosonic amp, which had a built-in tape echo, and it allowed him to get sounds like this. Mystery Train was originally recorded by Little Junior's Blue Flames in 1953. It takes some lyrics from a Carter family song from 1930 called Worried Man Blues. The Elvis version, which Sam Phillips called an effing masterpiece, was recorded on July 11, 1955. Elvis wasn't aware that the final master was a take, thus, he starts laughing near the end of the track. This was also the first appearance of Scotty Moore's new amplifier, the Ray Butts Echo Sonic. The original version of Trying to Get to You was recorded by an R&B group named the Eagles in 1954. This is not to be confused with the 70s group of the same name. The record flopped, but you were able to hear where Elvis may have gotten some of his vocal mannerisms. Elvis had already tried to record this song in February of '55, but that session proved to be a failure, and that tape has yet to surface. Several months later, he tried again, and this time was more successful. But like a few other tracks that I have already mentioned, this too didn't make its debut until 1956, when Elvis had switched to RCA. When It Rains, It Really Pours was originally recorded by Billy the Kid Emerson in 1954 for Sun Records, and was based on an ad for Morton Table Salt. The Elvis version was recorded in one awkward session on July 11, 1955. It was awkward because the writing was on the wall for Sam. Elvis was getting too big too fast. Colonel Tom Parker had arrived on the scene and was already in the process of moving Elvis on to greener pastures. During a break in the session, Elvis disappeared into the control room with Sam Phillips for about a half hour. He came out, he paid the session drummer $50 and called it a day. Elvis would later re-record When It Rains, It Really Pours for his 1957 album Loving You. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at what went into making Elvis's Son's sessions. I'm going to end with That's Alright Mama. What better way to pay tribute to the birth of rock and roll?